here's something else I saw. So they just had the NFL meetings. Ben Johnson is the new coach of the Bears, and he was doing some talking. And one of the things he brought up, it's a very confusing analytic. So I'm going to try to simplify this as much as I can. It's called EPA, expected points added. So Ben Johnson, the Bears coach, was talking about, he thinks it's the number one quarterback stat in the league now. It used to be turnovers. Like if you turn the ball over, you lost the game. And he said that's not really true anymore. He said this is a very complicated analytic. And the way I would describe the EPA analytic is, as a quarterback, do you put your team in a position to win? In this analytic, quarterback sacks are a killer. Get rid of the ball. And just not turning it over, that's not it. If you're throwing 42 times a game, you can have an interception as long as you don't throw it in the red zone. So here's Ben Johnson talking about the improvement of Caleb Williams.
You go back to the basics, and so it's the fundamentals of the quarterback position. What's our footwork going to look like under center, from the shotgun? What are we calling the formations? We got to get on the same page because it'll be a little bit different for him than what he experienced last year. And if we can mesh together and start speaking the same language, that's when things will really start to take off.
So the Bears, interestingly, the over-under on the Bears is 8.5 wins, and that's what it was last year. So I don't know what they're going to be, but here's why the Ben Johnson hire is really important. If Caleb Williams doesn't look like a franchise quarterback by early October, then he's not going to be. They have a really nice offensive line now. They've got really good weapons. They may pick up a running back in the first round. So they have a competent offensive coach who is cerebral. Like, I don't love Justin Fields, but he went from Bears, Steelers to Jets. Defensive coach, defensive coach, defensive coach. I don't love Justin Fields, but he never found his guru. You'll know within 4 to 5 games if Caleb Williams is the guy. It doesn't take long. I mean, remember, Sean McVay went to the Rams. Goff looked like a bust. And through the first 4 weeks, Goff had a 112 passer rating. Jaden Daniels, it wasn't even a head coach, had a really good coordinator and not a very good O-line and not much of a run game and one receiver and not great tight end production. And Jaden Daniels, in his first 4 weeks, had a 107 passer rating. Sam Darnold finally got an offensive coach in Kevin O'Connell. First 4 games in Minnesota, 119 passer rating. So by October 1st, I'll know, you'll know, Ben Johnson will know, everybody in the Bears will know if Caleb's going to be the guy or not. It does not take a long time if you get a very erudite, smart, offensive guy. We knew with C.J. Stroud and Bobby Slowick, we knew in the first month. Burrow in the first month. Goff with McVay in the first month. Darnold with Kevin O'Connell first month. Jaden Daniels with Cliff Kingsbury. We knew in the first month. I mean, I was never a huge Cam Newton fan, but we kind of knew 5 games in, yeah, that doesn't look like everybody else. So this idea that it's like, let's look over the course of a season. And for me, it's not a win-loss thing. Again, the Packers have better players and a better culture, and the Lions have way better players and a dominant offensive line to control the games. And Minnesota is now got, like, between Brian Flores and Kevin O'Connell, that's one of the best staffs in football. So if the Bears finish 4th and won 9 games, it's like that just may be what it is. But you're going to be able to, when you listen to Ben Johnson talk about EPA and stuff like this, and what that EPA basically is, over the course of a game, if you look at individual plays, are you getting rid of the really negative plays? Sacks are a killer. Caleb Williams got sacked too much. So Ben Johnson, who clearly now is running the show, comes in, Pro Bowl center, Pro Bowl guard, starting left guard. Like, they made the O-line the priority. And my guess is, and this is why I think it's important sometimes to just do something. Like, sometimes in life, you're like, I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I should. Just do it, because it'll create clarity. Like, sometimes you're like, I'm not sure if I should take this job. I'm not sure if I'm ready for this job. Take the job. Because if you're not ready for a tough job, it's better to know now so you can start building toward it. Go for it. 3 words that generally solve puzzles. Go for it. Do things. And you'll find out if you're over your skis. So Ben Johnson, every time I've heard him talk, I'm like, this guy's really smart. It does not take long. I mean, you go back to what McVay took over. The Rams were a mess. And McVay got a left tackle, better coaching. First month, you're like, yeah, Goff works. And I think Caleb Williams is significantly more firepower athletically than Jared Goff. So you've got a dimension. You'll have a third of a playbook you can't use with Goff. So but it is interesting. I mean, and for the record, you think I'm critical of Baker Mayfield. When Baker Mayfield got Liam Cohen, the right offensive coordinator, first 4 games in Tampa, 101.5 passer rating. Or Dave Canales, my bad. So it's like, it doesn't take long. You're speaking the same language. So you'll know by October 1st. The Bears will know. You'll know. I know. We'll know if it works or not. It's not going to be a slow growth thing. You're going to need like 13 games. No, it's not. Because there is such a gap in this league. And I always use Belichick and Brady as an example. I don't think people understand it. There is such a gap in this league between offensive coaches and how they understand quarterbacks and O-lines and defensive coaches. If you go look at offensive line rankings, the bottom 5 to 6 teams the last several years are almost all defensive coaches. If you go look at the top 7 to 8 offensive lines the last half decade, they're almost all offensive coaches. So it's not just going to be Caleb Williams. Ben Johnson's going to fix the O-line, which, wasn't it weird last year with Eberflus? We thought going into the year it was okay to maybe slightly better than okay. It was a disaster. It got worse. Tomlin can't figure out the O-lines. In Seattle, Pete Carroll struggled what unit? The offensive lines. So it's taken a while for Sean McDermott outside of left tackle to get the O-lines right in Buffalo. Deion Dawkins has been great, but it's been a little musical chairs, and they can't quite get it. They finally got the run game and the O-line right after years and years of struggling.
So I'm with you on Ben Johnson. Genius, mastermind, I like it. Colin, I looked up the opponents. Are you ready for the Bears' road games this season?
I am. Let's go.
They obviously Detroit and Green Bay in the division.
They'll split with those teams.
And Minnesota, they'll win. We'll see. They also have to go to Baltimore. That's a loss. Yeah. To Cincinnati to face Joe Burrow.
Okay.
Yeah, probably a loss. To the Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champion. To your boy Jaden Daniels and Washington.
Yeah.
And, oh, by the way, to Kyle Shanahan and San Francisco. Colin, the other road game is against the Raiders.
Okay,
I don't know if they're going to win 2 road games this year.
Okay, let's say they don't. Let's say they lose all those games, and give me 1 win there.
I'll give you the Raiders.
And the Niners.
And who?
The Niners.
I'll give you the Vikings instead. Fine. Okay. 2 road games, okay?
Okay, so if they win their home games, that's a 10-win team.
Okay. So the home schedule is favorable. They do get Dallas at home.
Win.
Should be a win. The New York Giants.
Win.
Cleveland Browns.
Win.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Win.
New Orleans Saints.
Win.
So that's favorable. And then the 3 in the division. So you're right. With a lot of stacking home wins, maybe there's a chance they get to 500 or above. I don't think this is a playoff team.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah, they're going to lose to Philly and Baltimore without question on the road. Everything else is winnable. Niners lose home games all the time. But remember, it's overcast. W for the Bears. If it's a little sprinkly, give me a W.
This guy.